you know. I think it's one of those timeless tracks. Anyhow, so we're inside the afternoon session, and a very good afternoon to you. Thanks for staying tuned. We have Maxine Atong, I have to say, back with us.
Yes.
Yes, Maxine, you're back. Good afternoon to you.
Hi, Alex. Thanks again for having me.
You look as great as ever.
That's wonderful
Yeah,
to
you've been
hear.
doing good things with your life.
Clearly.
Yeah, and it's always a pleasure to have a conversation with someone who focuses on something as big as leadership, and you have so much going on,
Yes.
so much, let's just say that you found the right formula, because you don't look as though you're confused, or you don't know what's going on, or all anxious. You're always so calm and collected, so that's good. It's
But
inspiring.
it's also good when you have a great host, Alex. So, I come in here, you make me feel so comfortable.
Really?
I could just stay here, Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I think we better send for some food.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yes. So you have your third annual seminar on leadership. That's happening early April.
Yes.
That's April 4th.
Yes.
April is also my month.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And before we get into that, you've been doing this for a while. Yeah. What's your definition of a leader?
And so I'm very clear about what a leader does, and it's not a textbook definition. I think it really is. My leadership comes from my experience of the times that I have been an effective leader,
Yes.
my observations of effective leaders, and of course the other side of it in terms of people who are less effective.
Mm-hmm.
So I define a leader as someone who is able to harness the creativity and intelligence of their team members.
Ooh. That sounds like something you need to be born with. I don't
Yeah.
know. Can leaders be trained? I mean, of course, you must undergo some training. You must
Yeah.
have a background, but you've got to have it in you. So, like a musician or an artist.
Well, I think the beauty of leadership is that on a daily basis, we are all leaders in our lives. We sort of get ourselves up on mornings and take self-ownership to get ourselves to where we need to go.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not, it's because we're doing it for money or because we're doing it for passion or love, it doesn't matter. And then for those of us who have families, there's a way in which we have to manage and take leadership of that family to set a vision for our family. We mightn't call it those words, which are more organizational words, but we sort of we look at our kids and say, we're going to want our kids to be independent.
Yeah.
So in a way, we start to craft a journey for our kids. And at some point in time, we sort of start co-creating that journey with our kids when they're like 15, asking them what you want to do, what subjects are you doing. So in a way, we do practice leadership in our lives. It's just that we don't really think about it intentionally as leadership.
That makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. You have me thinking as well, because I had that conversation with my son, with my 12-year-old, soon to be 13, or I should say soon to be 23, how they grow,
Yes.
and he seems quite focused, on what he wants to do. Of course, that may change along
Yes.
the way. And, just to add that it's always good, and I learned this, don't try to force the child to do what you want them to do or what you want them to be in terms of a career or whatever in life.
Yeah.
Let them follow their passion.
Right. And so when you take exactly what you say and you translate it into an organizational setting, is that's where we traditionally think about leadership. And when you think about it, is that we can't force employees to do something. We need to have a conversation with them in terms of, why are you doing this job? How
Yes.
does it feed into your dream? How does it feed into what you need to do for your family?
Right.
And we can't coerce them, but we as leaders can show them why it is that they're doing the job, how it feeds into what they want to do, and work with them to motivate them in that way.
Motivation,
Yeah.
that is a
So
key.
I think there are a lot of things that we do on a daily basis with the intention of love, that we don't necessarily think that it translates into the organization in terms of leadership in an organizational context.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I like that. I think I may have mentioned this before, but I was thinking, about the lack of proper training in many, even food outlets that we go to, many different business spaces, and I think that staff are really under motivated, so I guess, it is something to think about. Okay, so you're having your third leadership seminar. It's called The Paradox of Leadership.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting title. Tell us
Yeah.
some more about that.
So, in our lives, we often are faced with paradoxical situations. And just for definition purposes, a paradox is something that when we first look at it, it seems absurd.
Yeah.
But the more we investigate it, we realize it's true. So when Sparrow sang, youth is wasted on the young, of course, if you're 15, you're going like, what crap is he singing?
Yeah.
But if you're sort of 50, 40, you start to look at it and say, wow, I now understand what he
Yes.
said. Because the more you look at it and based on the experiences as you grow older, a lot of people wish they had some more youth left. So
Yes.
that's what a paradox is. And it shows up in leadership because first, when we start with the leader is a person, and as people, we are perfectly imperfect. We all have flaws. And therefore, when you think about how we think about leaders as these iconic people, as these great people, and when you look at the fact that a lot of leaders have lost their jobs because of some questionable morals, which
Right.
all of us, which as a society, all of us have some little question marks around some of the areas we have. So when you think about it, it's paradoxical. Because you've been elevated to a leader, are you saying then that you are now perfectly perfect?
Ah,
So that's the kind of paradoxes
Yeah.
that leaders face. So how do I, with my imperfections and my flaws, how do I continue to lead from a position of virtue
yes. And morals.
and morals? So that's for me, that's one of the biggest paradoxical situations that leaders face, because here you have your individuality and you're asking to lead in a conforming way. So at this seminar, we're going to explore more than one situation in terms of where this shows up. And we really want to co-create an experience with our membership in terms of asking them to examine their own leadership journey in terms of the paradoxical situations they have found themselves in, how they have held the tensions between these
Right.
two, and how they cope with it. Because, if you've ever been caught up in a paradoxical situation, you begin to wonder, am I right? Am I doing
Yeah.
this
You
thing
start to
right?
question yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What would somebody else have done? And so it raises a lot of anxiety, which we know could really turn out into even more negative behaviors being displayed.
Correct. So it does sound scientific. If you
Yes.
think about it.
Yes.
Nice. I think that it will be an eye opener
Yes.
for sure.
And that's one of the reasons why the seminar, I think, is so important, and that's why I decided 3 years ago to start having the seminar, to sort of create a space where we can actually talk about leadership. And if you look at our Caribbean heritage, leadership, if you Google books in the Caribbean on leadership, indentureship, slavery, politics, a little bit about gender, and cricket, right? As strange as it is, but
Cricket,
a lot of
yes.
leadership in cricket from Professor Beckles and stuff like that.
Right.
And there's very little written in the Caribbean about organizational leadership or leadership within that context.
Yes.
So for me, there's a gap. And if there's a gap, we can't wait on somebody else to fill the gap. I have the information. I have worked all around the world with various people in organizational development.
Yeah.
And I'm able to tap into a community and share my thoughts. And the most important thing is that I'm from this space. So I'm not thinking about about reading a book and saying it was written by an American and I'm going to roll it out here.
Right.
I am sharing my real life examples from both my clients who are leaders in organizations and my own experiences as a leader in various organizations. And I think that's why I'm really excited about it. We really kept the cost down, and we're just really, really happy that actually we have a sponsor this year that Guardian Life of the Caribbean actually bought into the concept,
Yes.
and we're hosting it at their atrium in West Moorings.
Absolutely. Really nice venue as well.
Yes, nice venue.
Good stuff indeed. You have done so much. We were talking off air. You told me that you were an accountant for how many years? 20 years?
Yes. Yes, I've been cooking books.
I'm not seeing any wrinkles.
That's great.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, an accountant was, and still is, because what I do in accounting is I work with businesses, medium-sized businesses, but I really work on it to sort of transfer information. So I think that's the space in which I operate. So whether it is I'm coaching clients, whether I'm improving a process, whether I'm doing an organizational development consultancy or partnering with leaders to make their teams better,
Yeah.
it is about transferring skills and making
Yes.
these skills not a hard pill to swallow, but really showing adults what's in it for me if I learn these skills. So, you know, so I don't do accounting anymore within the framework of an organization, but I do work with accountant clients to train up their staff in terms of how to do it so that they don't need an accountant. I
Right.
firmly believe in that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Being self-sufficient.
Yes,
To-
definitely.
At least to a certain level.
Yes, yes. To get
Yeah.
all your, you know, all your quarterly taxes done, get your NIS done, you know, train them how to do all the rudimentary stuff on a daily basis. Yeah, so you know, so it's all about, and I think it's so that whole switch came in terms of where I am now, because how do I coach people and empower people and transform lives, and I'm not doing that with my bread and butter clients in terms of accounting services. So it's all about transformation.
Yes.
It's all about empowerment, regardless of what service I'm offering to someone.
Absolutely, I love it. Aside from your seminar, which of course we can continue to chat about, I want to talk about your books
Yeah,
because
sure.
when I first met you, I heard Maxine. She's written 2 books. I'm like, wow. To be very honest, I haven't read either of them as yet. Okay.
Yet.
Yeah. But how have they been doing?
Well, actually, books are doing pretty well.